Paul Reed. We resigned Paul Reed to a deal up to 3 years. Years 2 and 3 are guaranteed if we make it to the second round at $23 million. And there's some mixed reviews from social media about the deal. Some don't like the money being tied to a backup to Joel, and others think we need to keep our young talent. So what do you guys think about the deal and keeping Paul Reed in Philadelphia?
Mixed reviews on social media? No. Come on, of course.
I mean, it could swing, it could just only be one way. Mixture sometimes is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think he's a young guy that I wanted to come back, and I wanted on the team. The contract does make it interesting, only because we have, outside of Joel, we have the third, second, third, and fourth best player. We don't know how the contract's going to look.
Yeah.
So it's really up in the air from that standpoint. So you have to, assuming we accomplish what we, somewhat, at least the second round, then it becomes guaranteed, and you just don't know. Like, I think that I would have been more pressed to give him the deal if we have some more security or
clarity,
kind of knowing where we were going.
Yeah.
So that uncertainty kind of gives me some hesitation, because it's, we need that space to kind of make a big move here. Like, we don't know. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with James, and even with Tobias. I mean, Tobias is in the last year of his deal, and either he's going to stay and come back, or we're going to have to fill that position.
Yep.
And, Maxey is, if you're looking at what some of these other young guys are getting, you can assume what Maxey's expecting.
Hoping.
No, expecting. Because all they do is compare the stats.
It's true.
Just compare them. I mean, it's the kid from the Pacers made the All-Star game, but the numbers are terrible. That's last season. I mean, Bane, you look at Bane, and I think that's who he's going to look at.
Yeah.
He's going to look at his contract.
We're gonna try to give him more of a hero contract, but he's gonna be like, "No, I want Bane money."
It's not even happening. not even entertaining that.
Yeah.
Who would you say was his agent? Rich?
Yeah.
Not even entertaining that.
Did Rich Paul represent either of Bane or
No.
Or no, he doesn't.
No.
Or Halliburton. Oh, okay.
No, but he got Van Fleet 45 a year. So if Van Fleet's getting 45 a year, and you have
Houston has to spend money, man.
Yeah, but
young.
I hear you on that, but if you're Rich Paul, you're not selling it that way about his other players. You're like,
I mean, he's coming in there as a starter for 3 years.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing against the money. I'm saying if Rich Paul, by his standards, is like, Max is entering his prime, why is he not going to get crazy money like that? I'm saying for his case. I'm saying,
I mean, Fred. I mean, like I told you, I'm not in anybody's pocket. I'm happy for him. I'm saying
I'm in his pocket.
He's looking at the other contracts, and I told you guys. Maybe I told you, and I told some other people when people were talking about Jordan Poole got so much money and they want to talk about his contract, and I was like, his contract won't be anything compared to some of these other guys that's about to get paid.
Yeah, Poole, and I would love it closer to Poole and Hero's money, but that's just
but a couple weeks ago that was too much. Before these guys signed, that was too much.
Shit, I'll take that as a starting point now. I'll take that as a middle starting, and we're close to that now.
Exactly. I was telling a couple friends of mine, I was like, look, of course, I'm like, y'all blaming the guy that played 50 minutes and then he made too much money. I'm like, oh my goodness. I said, all right. And I pulled out the salaries for the shooting guards in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I showed them like all of the guys that were behind Poole that were coming up for contracts.
Yep.
Like all the guards. As soon as they start getting these deals, they all text me. I'm like, man, I told y'all. I told y'all he had a quote unquote friendly deal for Golden State for his position based on where it was going. So now you go and he's going to be probably the leading scorer for the Wizards.
Oh, yeah. He's going to get crazy stats on that team.
On a deal that's half what Halliburton got.
Actually, it's good for Washington because that deal is going to look like a bargain when he averages 27 next year. And
that's what I'm saying.
They could trade his ass for
they're going to say, yes.
They could trade him for more than they got for him.
Yes.
More than they got him for. Yeah. Now the hero thing confuses me unless he just gave him a deal because he was coming off a 6th Man of the Year award. I don't know why he didn't get more than what he got. Because he could have, right? He wasn't restricted to that money.
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
I don't know if the market was like that for him though.
Well, I don't think it's still as the for. That's why the Portland
can't. He came off as a and he was coming off as a full-time reserve. Yeah. This past year was his first time starting.
Yeah, which he was hurt.
It's hard for people to like consider not starters ever to command that.
Yeah. We probably should have kept Maxey on the bench and then offered him a hero type deal.
Look, we had that conversation in one of our shows, like whether you consider a starter versus a bench player. Like their salaries will be different. So you can't go and compare yourself to Bane if you're a reserve.
Yep, it's true. Yep. I mean,
but Maxey offered that. He was the one who wanted to play on the bench. He told Doc that was
okay. Eric's, yeah, exactly. So I was on the fence about Reed.
Yeah, you're right.
Wasn't it? I was on the fence about Reed, but I think part of that was me just buying into this whole unofficial plan that we're trying to save as much cap space next year as possible. But I just think you can't lose. You can't lose homegrown young talent because you're trying to save space for these mythical players next year that we don't even know are going to come here, right? Like that list is dwindling by the day as guys are getting extensions and re-signed. But the only thing that goes against that would be a lot of the big name players can just be traded for. I think that's how most players have been switching teams this year, have been trades. So a name could pop up at any moment who's unhappy with his team that we could trade for. But I mean, just under $8 million a year for 3 years. I think they're definitely banking on him getting better with that contract. And I think Nurse has probably assured them that he fits his mold, is his kind of guy. So, I mean, I like that he's back. Are there negatives to it? Can it be moved? I know he's got no trade clause, but that doesn't mean he's going to reject any trade that we throw at him. I mean, if we say, hey, you want to go to LA, he might just be like, yeah, sure. Yeah. So we don't know. We he can't be traded to Utah for a year. We do know that. Yeah. But $7.5 million, $8 million. That's not a deal breaker for a team to be like, no, you're not dumping that on us. It's not a bad contract in terms of where he's been headed because he has gotten better every year and what his money is. So,
yeah,
I like that he's back.
Yeah, that would have, as far as the fan base, and the fan base has been kind of in shambles all off season since Harden opted in and requested a trade, and we're not really getting anything as of right now. We're not getting anything for him, and we're seeing a lot of guys go. Paul Reed leaving, and everyone loves Paul Reed. He's a huge fan favorite. He left. Fan base would have been very, very upset. So I don't know if Morey knew he had to do that. And Morey's really big on the Twitter trends and stuff. So Morey was all about keeping everyone happy. I don't know if that was the main reason.
If people out there think that Morey's making decisions based on Twitter reactions, they're messing with the wrong one because he's not doing that. Especially with how much money he costed them in luxury. Because I think what was at the end, I think he cost 14 or 15 million on luxury tax. So in the end, his contract was really like 23 million for this year if you include luxury tax. Mm-hmm. He's not going into Josh Harris's office saying, "You got to see these reactions on Twitter, man. And come on, give me that extra 14 million to sign him." That ain't happening.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse said in a recent interview talking about Paul Reed that Reed's been in the gym more than anyone he's seen this summer. Nurse said that Reed plays with his heart and guts, but he wants him to advance his skills. So I just want to ask you guys, what do you think Reed needs to work on in order to receive more minutes and if for some people to justify the money that he's getting this upcoming year? What do you want to see him improve on?
I mean, it has to be, obviously spreading the court. I'm not sure if he's going to be there, but I think his ability to spread the court will allow him to play with Joel more and not restrict him to maybe minutes being strictly backup or very limited minutes with him. I mean, ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to, his ability to show the versatility of playing alongside Joel.
They say he's shooting about 700 jumpers a day. I think that's what I read. So obviously he knows it's a long way to go, but I like that he knows exactly what he needs to work on. These guys aren't clueless, right? Unless they're in denial. But you read stories like, the apparent one with Zion saying he doesn't want to add a mid-range jumper or other jumpers to his game. I like that Reed knows exactly what he needs to work on, and he's working on it. Even if he gets like some semblance of like a mid-range deep jumper, he could definitely play with Joel. He's a good defender, active hands, good rebounder, lob threat. He hustles. He can guard multiple positions too. He's pretty athletic for his size. So I think at this point, 3-point shooting and better handling. He fumbles the ball a little too much for my taste. So
yeah, and Embiid does too. Actually, it's two guys who can't just get the board. I do want to ask you though. Do you guys see, because you talk about the playing next to Embiid? Some people have been floating around on Twitter. Maybe a chance if Reed can kind of advance his game a little bit that he could kind of supersede PJ Tucker for that power forward position in the starting lineup. If the team is pretty much the same team we bring back this past year, if Harden stays, Tobias stays, could you see a world where Paul Reed could take over the starting 4 position over PJ Tucker?
So is PJ the 4 or is Tobias the 4?
we had this discussion last year, the same exact time.
Just asking.
I think people online are assuming that PJ.
So if you're saying, so if you're playing Paul Reed in front of PJ, you're saying Tobias is a 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'd have to. He better develop that jumper. Real fast. I mean, I definitely want Tucker's minutes to come down.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
No. So you think at this point Tucker's locked in at 4?
I can see his minutes maybe catching up or passing up, but I don't see him jumping right in the starting lineup. I think it has some of the things that we're talking about has to happen
gradually.
For that to happen.
Yeah. So at this point,
right now, PJ's a more consistent 3-point threat than you.
Yeah. So at this point, you have Tucker at 3, Tobias at 4, still locked in as starters. If the season started today,
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, the way they use them, they're both spot up shooters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're both cornermen.
Really, I mean, in most instances, you are who you can defend.
Yeah, and they both can switch on 3s and 4s, so matchup dependent.
Yeah, but I would consider PJ more to 3. Like if we play Miami, like who's guarding Jimmy?
Tucker.
Yeah, that would be more to 3 to me.
Yeah.